legislation and law which has to come in to then remind these people that when you release a product to the general public, it has to be finished, it has to be complete, it should be done. But that's just me asking for too much, apparently. Oh, you're thinking about it, aren't you? You're thinking about it. I assure you it's fun. On to today's subject. Now, this isn't strictly motorcycle related, but hey, this has been making the rounds on the old YouTube, and it's fairly big in the old video game world, so I thought I'd put my take on it as well. Cyberpunk 2077. This game, when the hype is real, when the hype train goes choo choo choo, everyone aboard, and then everyone gets a ticket, jumps on that freaking hype train, and then oh, suddenly doesn't take you to that glorious promised land of whichever station you want to get off at. It breaks down quarter of the way there. I won't even give it the benefit of halfway. It breaks down quarter of the way there, and that's it, you're left with it. So if you're looking for a video which defends CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077, sorry, not here. I've had a damn good mindset for a while now not to pre-order any games, and then one of my friends said it's fine, it works, it's just people are having a lot of issues, graphical issues and glitches and bugs. I thought, okay, I can probably work around those, because what's the worst that's going to happen? You get random people T-posing places, and enemies maybe like spawning in strange locations, walking through objects. Yeah, fine, whatever. These things can be expected half the time. What I didn't expect was a video game where I am solely dependent on an autosave system. That thing, I think I put in total about 80 hours into Cyberpunk, doing a bunch of like the secondary stuff, and without going into spoilers as much as possible, I found that the story for this game was mediocre. There was only 2 characters I really gave a damn about. I watched the numerous other endings which you can get, and the ways that you get to those. Same sort of feeling. Basically, my feelings on this game, if you want to look at the bugs, the glitches, the graphical issues, all that sort of stuff, you can go on to, you know, other videos on YouTube, because they are numerous. Ultimately, at the end of the day, hello doggy, I found that in my experience, that if I was to go back and play Cyberpunk 2077 a year from now, I think my experience has already been ruined, simply because I didn't find it majorly enjoyable to stroll through the story. There are several times when you're doing story missions and someone will be following you, and the whole idea is, yeah, let's go through here quietly, and then you'll get to somewhere, and then your character, like the person following your character, will be like, hey, there's enemies over there. Yeah, okay, fine. For some reason the AI doesn't pick up on that. I think this game got released a year too early. Throughout the campaign, like, there's several parts of this, like when you have conversations with people, they'll start talking about something as if you've never mentioned it. So hang on, but I just said something about A, B and C, and now you're telling me what? there's actually a side mission where you quote unquote rescue someone, deliver them to someone, and then the reward which you get, the quest giver talks to you again, and then his voice actor just completely changes. I thought, did you say that, or did the guy I rescued say that? What? It feels half-baked. It feels like it should have been in development for another year, maybe 2 years. The fact that CD Projekt Red had to crunch for the last month or two, they backdated it again and again. This is all episodes of disaster. We've seen what happens when companies try and make a game which is far too big for what they can possibly achieve. don't get me wrong, I feel like they could have done it. It's just, all things considered, they did not have the time. It's like halfway through the project, Keanu Reeves got involved, and then they try and make the game more around him and his Johnny Silverhand character than, you know, actually fleshing out a lot of these people to something that you actually give a damn about. And it's a massive shame. Anthem was a prime example of, we're going to promise all this sort of stuff, and then when the game comes out, it's just terrible. Mismanagement completely. We're talking about members of staff having like emotional breakdowns. They would have like a little ready room or a side room somewhere where people could literally go there just to cry for a while. And I just think, if your work environment is that harsh, is that intense, where you need a room, like in video game development, maybe there are jobs out there, like I understand like work on oil rigs and stuff is like extremely demanding work, but you know, you have to have a characteristic for that. If you're like a video game developer of sorts and you're basically being told, here's a room back here, if you want to have a little sob, a little cry, go in there, job done, you're out the way of everyone else, I think that is abnormal, to put it nicely. To mistreat people, mismanage the entire project where the developers are the ones who have to sort of pick up the slack. And I understand, don't get me wrong, not every developer is going to be there working their bollocks off. But it comes to a point where, as a manager, or in CD Projekt Red's case, as the CEO of a company, if you're basically saying, yes, it's going to be ready, when you should know, everything points to, no, it's not, and you're still saying to your investors, yes, it is. That is all kinds of scummy, which I cannot fathom, I cannot put into words. Let's get in front of that one, how I feel about that. And so ultimately, yeah, the sad thing is, like, CD Projekt Red has gained a lot of goodwill over the last few years with the Witcher series. Apparently the third Witcher game didn't release too well, but they fixed it after a little while and all was good. They've been doing a lot of good things behind the scenes on their own video game store as well. They've been doing some good things, and then Cyberpunk 2077 comes out and suddenly, pew, bang, everything just nosedives out of control, and like all that goodwill is just gone. Like, you have basically sold a game on like word of mouth, really. Goodwill, word of mouth, and like actions speak louder than words. But the action of releasing a video game which is clearly nowhere near ready to be released to the public, and when I say released, when release date comes along, that's when your project, your item, your thing that you're selling to people should be done. No questions asked. If you needed a small day one patch to fix a few little oversights, or maybe like there's a cutscene where a character doesn't quite sync up properly, so you patch that, job done, fine, great, whoop-de-doo. But if your game is to the point, like it is with 2077, where you're in an open world and your actions around the civilians can affect them in all kinds of ways. I can pull out a gun in the middle of the street, start firing, and people won't bat an eyelid at it. I thought, okay, it's Night City, this sort of thing happens on the regular, apparently. I do a massive jump and then land next to someone. Suddenly the entire street gets down on their hands and knees, people start running away and such and such. I'm just like, I jumped. You run over a couple of civilians in a car and like the police will spawn in random directions. It's not like they actually come in from anywhere, they literally just spawn and they're there. Select a random civilian and just follow them through the game, and they'll walk through like ticket boxes, they'll walk through food stands, and they just disappear through some random bloody wall. It is extremely ridiculous. From everything which I've seen so far, I do not believe that game can be fixed. I think the reputation has already been stated, has already been put out there. This is what we believe is a released finished product. No, it's not. And I made a video when I think Fallout 76 came out, and I tried comparing like a broken video game to a broken motorcycle or something. It's not ready. Okay, but this is available to the general public. Yeah, but the engine wasn't quite the right size, or it wasn't tuned quite properly, so that'll be available in a few months. so why are you selling it? And there's another really good example actually about the autosave thing, which I briefly touched on earlier on. So I finished one of the main storyline quests. Then I found that I couldn't jump, that I couldn't use my super jump thing. So when it came to, because I ran sort of like a pacifist run, I made an effort not to kill people if I didn't have to. I wanted to try and do it stealthily, fine. I found I couldn't do it, so I thought, right, so why can't I do this big jump anymore? I go somewhere, I've accepted a new side quest mission thing, why can I no longer jump? So I quick saved it there, went back to one of my previous saves about half an hour ago, still can't jump. Thought, okay, so I've lost half an hour's worth of progress. Went back a little bit more, now I can do the big jump. Okay. Then I looked into it a bit more. I couldn't vault over objects, I couldn't jump towards like a wall and climb it. It's just all this additional stuff which is surprisingly really useful. I couldn't do any of it. So something in that game had just bugged out where you're now like restricting the movement of the player. So I basically lost about 3/4 of an hour worth of progress and then had to redo that just so I could move around the bloody terrain. I've had it where I've had to wait like 2 minutes just for a job to finish up, and then suddenly bam, quest completed, job done, there you are. You call your car in and it just randomly spawns in. So it might spawn in a food stand and quite literally just flip out, and that's it, it's gone, it's blown up or whatever. You walk 20 meters down the road, call your car again because you're not sure where it's gone, and suddenly your car arrives but it's practically in pieces because it's been badly damaged. I just yeah, that game is not ready for market, and even the developers have stated to the management of CD Projekt Red that they are unhappy with the way that game got released. They are unhappy that the CEO lied to investors, lied to the general public, and still released, like fully well, just released the game in the state that it was in. I cannot fathom what they had to gain out of that. I cannot put into words the absolute stupidity, because we've seen this time and time again when a video game gets released way too early, clearly hasn't been developed properly or had the time to meet its expectations. Nice corner here. Whee. Nice. And just gets released and it's in an absolute mess. Guess what happens then? Your fan base, all those potential customers, turn against you, and now you've got a massive issue where suddenly, oh, why does nobody like our game? Because you fucked it up. Because you made the call, because you decided, hey, this product is complete. No, it isn't. Fuck you. That's my take on it. Defending a release like this is basically asking for more video games to be released in a similar state. I am not joking. Like, if you think this is going to be the last of video game publishers, developers releasing games in a sorry state like this, you are woefully mistaken. This will only continue, and it is going to be legislation and law which has to come in to then remind these people that when you release a product to the general public, it has to be finished, it has to be complete, rounded up, it should be done. But that's just me asking for too much, apparently.